Dhritarashtra. Sitting in his palace, far away from the battlefield, the blind king, Dhritarashtra, asked his minister, Sanjaya, Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre. On the battlefield in Kurukshetra, where Dharma hangs in the balance, Samaveta Yuyutsavaha. Mighty warriors have assembled there, ready to fight. Mamaka Pandavaschaiva. Warriors of my army, the Kaurava army, and warriors of the Pandava army. Kimakurvata Sanjaya. What did they do, O Sanjaya? Sanjaya Vacha. Sanjaya had previously been blessed by Rishi Vyasa with the power to see and hear everything happening on the distant battlefield. Vyasa is also the author of the ancient epic Mahabharata, the scripture in which the 18 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita are found. Sanjaya said, Drishtva tu Pandavanikam. Your son, Duryodhana, saw the vast Pandava army. Vyudham Duryodhanastada. The army assembled on the opposite side of the battlefield. Acharyamupasangamya. Duryodhana approached his teacher, Drona. Raja Vachanam Abravit. And then he began to speak, comparing the strength of the two armies. Drona had taught the art of warfare to many of the warriors standing on both sides of the battlefield, including Duryodhana. Here, Duryodhana apparently wanted to impress Drona by showing that his army was much stronger than the Pandava army. Duryodhana said, Pashyaitam Panduputranam. Look at the Pandavas gathered on the far side of the battlefield. Acharya Mahatim Chamum. O Drona, their army is very powerful. Vyudham Drupada Putrena. It's commanded by Drupada's son, Drishtadyumna. Tava Shishyena Dhimata, who is one of your own brilliant disciples. Atra Shura Maheshwasa. The Pandava army has many courageous warriors, great archers, Bhimarjuna Samayudhi, who are just as skillful on the battlefield as Bhima and Arjuna are. Yuyudhano Viratascha. Warriors like Yuyudhana, better known as Satyaki, and Virata, the king of Matsya. Drupadascha Maharataha, and Drupada, the king of Panchala. Drupada and Drona were once dear friends when they were young, but over the years they became bitter enemies, and they now stand on opposite sides of the battlefield. Drishtaketush Chekitanaha. You can see Drishtaketu, the son of Shishupala, along with his son, Chekitana, Kashirajascha Viryavan, and the mighty king of Kashi, Purujit Kunti Bhojascha, and King Purujit with his father, Kunti Bhoja, Shaibyascha Narapungavaha, and Shaibya, the famous king of Shibi. Yuddha Manyuscha Vikranta. You can also see Yuddha Manyu, the mighty prince of Panchala. Uttamaujascha Viryavan. along with Uttamaujas, his courageous brother. Saubhadro Draupadeyascha, and Subhadra's son Abhimanyu, as well as the 5 sons of Draupadi. Sarvaheva Maharataha, all of them are great leaders of the Pandava army, serving under Drishtadyumna's command. Asmakam tu vishishtaye. Now, here on this side of the battlefield are our own great warriors. Tani bodha dvijottama. You will certainly recognize them, O Drona. Nayaka mama sainyasya. They are the leaders of my army. Sangyartam tan bravimite. Allow me to introduce each of them to you. Bhavan bhishmascha karnascha. Yourself, of course, along with Bhishma and Karna. Kripascha samatinjayaha. And Kripa, our family guru, who is a highly skilled warrior. Ashwatthama vikarnascha, and your son, Ashwatthama, along with my younger brother, Vikarna. Saumadattistataivacha, and Somadatta's son, Bhurishravas. Anye cha bahava shura. You can see so many other mighty warriors gathered here. Mararte tyakta jivitaha. Warriors who are ready to sacrifice their own lives for me. Does Duryodhana seem a bit arrogant here? Nana shastra praharanaha. All of them are armed with powerful weapons. Sarve yuddha visharadaha. And each of them is highly skilled in the art of war. Aparyaptam tarasmakam. The strength of our Kaurava army is unlimited. Balam bhishma birakshitam. Because it's well defended by Bhishma. Paryaptam tvidame tesham. But the strength of the Pandava army is limited. Balam bhima birakshitam, even though it's defended by Bhima. Now, Duryodhana turns his attention away from Drona and addresses his entire army. Ayaneshu cha sarveshu. Wherever you are, in whichever position, yatha bhagam avastitaha, standing ready in your own detachments, bhishma meva bhirakshantu. You must all carefully protect Bhishma. Bhavantah sarvahevahi, each and every one of you. At the beginning of the war, Bhishma was in command of the Kaurava army, but on the 10th day of fighting, he was wounded and disabled by Arjuna. Bhishma was then succeeded by Drona, who then assumed command of the army. Tasya sanjanayan harsham. Duryodhana became overjoyed. Kuru vriddha pitamaha. When Bhishma, the family patriarch, simhanadam vinadyochaihi, made a thunderous sound like the roar of a lion. Shankam dadmau pratapavan, by blowing loudly on his conch shell. By blowing his conch, Bhishma announced the beginning of combat, and in this way he set in motion a bloody war that would stretch on for 18 days. Tata shankascha bhiryascha. Then, all across the battlefield, many more conches and kettle drums, panavanaka gomukhaha, along with mridangas, dholaks, and horns, sahasaivabyahanyanta, suddenly began to blare forth all together. Sashabdastumalo bhavata. The noise they produced was overwhelming. Now, Sanjaya describes what's happening on the Pandava side of the battlefield, where Lord Krishna and Arjuna stand in their magnificent chariot. Tata shvetar harar yukte. Then, yoked to 4 white horses, Mahati syandane stitau, there was a glorious chariot stationed on the battlefield. Madhava Pandavaschaiva, in which Lord Krishna and Arjuna stood ready to fight. Divyau shankau pradadmatuhu, both of them blew on their own divine conches. Panchajanyam hrishikesho, Lord Krishna blew on Panchajanya. Devadattam dhananjayaha, Arjuna blew on Devadatta. Poundram dadmau mahashankam, a huge conch named Poundra, Bhima karma vrikodaraha, was blown by Arjuna's brother, Bhima. Ananta Vijayam Raja, on a conch called Ananta Vijaya, Kunti Putro Yudhishthiraha, blew Yudhishthira, the son of Kunti. Nakula Sahadevascha, Yudhishthira's younger brothers, Nakula and Sahadeva, Sughosha Mani Pushpakau, blew on Sughosha and Mani Pushpaka. Kashyascha Parameshwasaha, conches were also blown by the mighty king of Kashi, Shikandi cha Maharataha, and by Commander Shikandi, Drishtadyumno Viratascha, along with Drishtadyumna and Virata, Satyakish cha Parajataha, and the invincible Satyaki. Drupado Draupadeyascha, also blowing conches were Drupada and the sons of his daughter Draupadi. Sarvashah Prativipate, O king, Sanjaya addressed Dhritarashtra in the palace, all of them. Saubhadrascha Mahabahuhu, together with Abhimanyu, the mighty son of Subhadra. Shankhan Dadmu Pratak Prataka, each of them blew loudly on their conches. Saghosho Dhartarashtranam, for your sons, that tremendous uproar, Hridayani Vyadarayata, was absolutely heartbreaking. Nabhascha Prativim Chaiva, through the sky and around the earth, Tumalo Bhyanunarayan, that noisy clamor echoed on. Then Sanjaya drew King Dhritarashtra's attention back to the chariot in which Lord Krishna and Arjuna were standing. Ata vyavastitan drishtva, Looking at the warriors assembled on the far side of the battlefield, Dhartarashtran kapidvajaha, Arjuna saw your son standing there. Pravritte shastra sampate, they were ready to fight, holding their weapons high. Dhanurhudyamya pandavaha, Arjuna too raised up his mighty bow. Hrishikesham tadavakyam, then, addressing Lord Krishna, Idamaha mahipate, Arjuna spoke these very words, O king. Arjuna vacha, Arjuna said, Senayor hubhayor madhye, onto the middle of the battlefield, in between both armies, Ratham stapaya mechyuta, drive our chariot, O Krishna. Yavaretan niriksheham, I want to see all the warriors, Yodhukamanavastitan, who are assembled there, eager for combat. Kairmaya sahayodhavyam, the warriors with whom I must fight. Asmin ranasamudyame, in the war that's about to begin. Yotsyamananavekshyeham, I especially want to see the warriors, Yahete trasamagataha, who are assembled in the Kaurava army. Dhartarashtrasya durbuddher, the wicked-minded sons of Dhritarashtra. Yudhe priyachakir shavaha, who are keen to please the king on the battlefield. Sanjayuvacha, back in the palace, Sanjaya continues narrating all these events to King Dhritarashtra. Eva mukto hrishikesho, then Lord Krishna was directed, Gudakeshena bharata, by the ever-vigilant Arjuna, Senayor hubhayor madhye, to drive to the middle of the battlefield, in between both armies. Stapayatvaratotamam, and position their glorious chariot there. Bhishmadrona pramukataha, Lord Krishna placed their chariot right in front of Bhishma and Drona. Sarveshan chamahikshitan, and all the mighty kings of the Kaurava army. Uvacha partha pashyaitan, then Lord Krishna said, O Arjuna, look at them. Samavetan kurunati, see all the Kauravas gathered here for war. Lord Krishna apparently wanted Arjuna to see Bhishma, his great-grandfather, and Drona, his beloved teacher. The Mahabharata describes in detail how Arjuna's extended family suffered a terrible rift and now face each other on opposite sides of the battlefield. Tatra pashyat sthitan partha, standing on both sides of the battlefield, Arjuna saw Pitran hatapitamahan, dearly beloved fathers and grandfathers, Acharyan matulan bratran, teachers and uncles and brothers, Putran pautran sakins tata, sons and grandsons, and his own friends. Shwashuran suhridaschaiva, Arjuna saw his in-laws and many other relatives. Senayor hubayorapi, gathered in armies on both sides of the battlefield. Tan samikshasa kaunteyaha. Arjuna saw them standing there. Sarvan bandhunavastitan. And he realized that they were all members of his family. They were his own kinsfolk. The Kurukshetra battlefield and the warriors assembled there can be interpreted symbolically. The battlefield represents your mind. Sometimes your mind seems like a battlefield when it's beleaguered by conflicts and caught up in the struggles of life. Just like Arjuna's family was divided into opposing armies, sometimes there's a split in your thinking, and you get stuck in a dilemma. Should I do this, or should I do that? For example, should I strictly follow dharma and reject my natural impulses and desires, or should I find some reason or excuse to justify a minor transgression of dharma so that I can freely fulfill my desires? As you can see, the battle between dharma and adharma is fought not only on the Kurukshetra battlefield, but also on the so-called battlefield of your mind. And like Lord Krishna helped Arjuna understand his predicament and act according to dharma, his teachings in the Bhagavad Gita can help you better understand the complexity of life and correctly follow the path of dharma. Unfortunately, to follow dharma on the Kurukshetra battlefield resulted in terrible death and destruction. It seems ironic that the Mahabharata itself says, ahimsa paramo dharmaha, non-injury or harmlessness, is the main principle of dharma. And yet, Lord Krishna allowed the bloody war to take place. Why? Well, sometimes not fighting a war can cause more harm than actually fighting it. Perhaps World War II is a good modern example. And the same holds true here. Properly understood, the war was fought not to regain the kingdom stolen by the Kauravas, nor was a war fought as retribution to punish the Kauravas for their misdeeds. It was a dharma yuddha, a war fought to restore dharma, a war fought to prevent unrighteous rulers from inflicting even more suffering on the people of the kingdom. The Mahabharata does not glorify war. Instead, it narrates in great detail the horrible consequences of war, consequences that were suffered not only by the warriors, but by the entire society.